Hello everyone. Now I'm Dr. Beena here. Today's topic is tear film. What are the functions of tear film? It forms a smooth optical surface by filling the irregularities of the corneal epithelium, and it keeps the cornea and conjunctiva moist, and it serves as a lubricant for the lids, and it transfers air to the cornea and prevents infection, and it washes the debris and irritants, and it provides a pathway to the WBC in case of injury. So these are the main function, that it forms a smooth optical surface and keeps the cornea and conjunctiva moist and serves as a lubricant for the eyelids and transfers air to the cornea and prevents infection by washing away the debris and irritants and provides pathway to the WBC in case of injury. Now see the structures of the tear film. You can see there are three layers for the tear film, that is outer lipid layer, the middle watery layer or aqueous layer, and the lower mucinous layer. Lipid layer. The tear film has got three layers. Lipid layer is secreted by the meibomian glands, Sees glands and Moll glands. Aqueous layer is secreted by the lacrimal glands and the accessory lacrimal glands of Cross and Wolfing. And the mucus layer is secreted principally by the conjunctival goblet cells. So there are three layers, and the layers are secreted by various glands like lipid layer, meibomian glands and Sees glands and Moll glands. Aqueous layer by the lacrimal and accessory lacrimal glands, and mucus layer by the conjunctival goblet cells. Now, how the tear film spread over the cornea? The tear film is mechanically spread over the ocular surface through a neuronally controlled blinking mechanism. So you know what is blinking, and blinking has an opening and closing of the eyelids. So here you can see the spreading of the tear film while the eyes are blinking. There are three factors required for the effective resurfacing of the tear film, that is, normal blink reflex and contact between the corneal external ocular surface and the eyelids and the normal corneal epithelium. So these are the three factors which helps in resurfacing of the tear film, that is the spreading of the tear film over the cornea. That is, one is blink reflex, then the contact between the external ocular surface and the eyelids, and the third one is the normal corneal epithelium. Now we'll pass on to each layer. The outermost layer is the lipid layer. The outer lipid layer is composed of two phases, that is polar phase and non-polar phase. The polar phase containing phospholipids adjacent to the aqueous mucin phase. So immediately adjacent to the aqueous layer there is a polar phase which is consisted of phospholipids. Then non-polar phase containing waxes, cholesterol esters and triglycerides. So the non-polar phase is consistent with waxes, cholesterol esters and triglyceride. So you can see here both layers, aqueous polar phase and non-polar phase. Polar lipids. Polar lipids are bound lipocalins within the aqueous layer. So this bound to lipocalins within the aqueous layer. These are small secreted protein that have the ability to bind the hydrophobic molecules. So the lipocalins are proteins which can have the ability to bind the hydrophobic molecules and may also contribute to the tear viscosity. So viscosity of the tear film is contributed mainly by this protein, that is lipocalins. You can see here the lipocalins. The lid movement during blinking is an important in releasing lipids from the glands. So movement during the blinking helps in releasing the lipids from these glands from which it is secreted. The thickness of the layer can be increased by forced blinking and conversely reduced by the infrequent blinking. So whenever you are forcibly closing the lid, then that will thickness will be increased. But on the contrast, when it is blinking is reduced, the thickness will be reduced while there is infrequent blinking. Now, what are the functions of the outer lipid layer? It prevents evaporation of the aqueous layer and maintain the tear film thickness. So the major function is the prevention of evaporation of aqueous layer. Aqueous layer is seen below the lipid layer. So it prevents the evaporation of the aqueous layer. It acts as a surfactant, allowing the spread of the tear film. So it acts as a surfactant. And also deficiency results in the evaporative dry eye. We already said that it will prevent the dryness by prevents the evaporation of aqueous layer. So when it is deficient, lipid layer is deficient, there will be evaporation of the evaporation, and so dry eye will be there. Middle aqueous layer. It is secreted. The main lacrimal glands produces 95% as aqueous component of tears, and the accessory lacrimal glands of Cross and Wolfring produces the remainder. So it is mainly contributed by the main lacrimal glands and the accessory lacrimal glands. 95% by the main lacrimal glands, and the rest is from the accessory lacrimal glands. So in this diagram, you can see the various layers and the glands from which it is secreted. Aqueous layer, that is lacrimal glands and the accessory lacrimal glands, and the mucus component, it's also from the various goblet cells, and then the meibomian glands will produces lipid component. Now, how the secretion of tears occurs. Basic resting component is and the reflex components. There are two main components for the secretion: basic resting component and the reflex component. Sometimes emotional component also is there. Now, how the reflex secretion occurs. It occurs in response to corneal and conjunctival sensory stimulation and tear breakup and the ocular inflammation. So this reflex secretion of tears occurs in response to corneal and conjunctival sensory stimulation, tear breakup, and the ocular inflammation. When there is ocular inflammation, there will be reflex secretion, and also when there is any sensory stimulus to the cornea or conjunctiva. And it is mediated via the fifth cranial nerve, and it is reduced by topical anesthesia and during sleep. So you might have noticed during sleep the secretion will be diminished, and also when you apply a topical anesthesia for any surgical procedures, then that time you have to apply anesthetics over the cornea over this eyeball, so that the tear secretion will be diminished. Secretion can be increased 500% in response to injury. So whenever there is an injury to the eye, suddenly there will be overproduction of these tears, that is around 500%. Now, what are the composition of the aqueous layer? Composition, its thickness is 10 micrometer and forms the uniform layer. Composition mainly water, electrolytes, dissolved mucins, and proteins. And there are growth factors derived from the lacrimal gland, and production of which is increases in response to injury. Then pro-inflammatory interleukin cytokines, which accumulate during the sleep when tears production is reduced. So there will be production of growth factors and pro-inflammatory interleukin cytokines apart from the other composition like water, electrolytes, dissolved mucins, and proteins. Now, what are the functions? It provides atmospheric oxygen to the corneal epithelium, and it has got an antibacterial activity due to the proteins such as immunoglobulin A, lysozyme, and the lactoferrin. So this will help in the it has got an antibacterial activity. Then it washes the debris and noxious stimuli and allow the passage of leukocytes after injury. So just like the lipid layer, here also the washes away the debris and the noxious stimuli and allow the passage of WBC after the injury. So again, it provides a smooth optical surface to this cornea by abolishing minute irregularities. So that will cover and it will abolish the minute irregularities present over the cornea. Then macromolecular mucoglycoprotein determines the surface tension of the fluid. So again the mucoglycoprotein present in the layer will determine the surface tension. Now the innermost mucus layer, 0.02 to 0.05 micrometer thickness. Mucins have a high molecular weight glycoprotein that may be transmembrane or secretory. Secretory mucins are further classified as gel forming and the soluble. So the inner layer is divided into transmembrane or secretory, and the secretory mucins again classified into gel forming and the soluble. There are principally produced by the conjunctiva goblet cells but also by the lacrimal glands. So it may be produced from the goblet cells as well as the lacrimal glands. Superficial epithelial cells of the cornea and conjunctiva produces transmembrane mucins that form their glycocalyx. So here you can see a damaged corneal epithelial cells where the loss of microvilli and the glycocalyx because of the injury that is destroyed. Epithelial staining with rose bengal indicates that the transmembrane and gel mucus layers are absent and the cell surface exposed. So in the previous picture you can see the destruction of this transmembrane and gel mucus thing due to some injury, and that will expose the cell surface. Damage to the epithelial cells will prevent the normal tear film adherence. So whenever there is a damage to these epithelial cells, that will prevent normal tear film adherence. Now what are the functions of the layer? Permit wetting and converting the corneal epithelium from a hydrophobic to a hydrophilic surface. So that is the innermost layer which will convert the hydrophobic to the hydrophilic surface. Then lubrication ocular and palpebral surface and the reduce friction. So another function is lubrication of ocular palpebral surface and reduces the friction. So when it is lubricating the surface, that will reduce the friction. Then slippery coating over the foreign bodies and protecting cornea and conjunctiva against abrasive effects. So it will form a slippery coating over the foreign body. Suppose a foreign body fall in eye, it will form a coating over the foreign body and protecting the cornea and conjunctiva against the abrasion. Suppose there is a foreign body that will produce abrasion on the cornea and conjunctiva. So that will be prevented by forming a coating over the foreign body by this layer. Deficiency of the mucus layer may be a feature of both aqueous deficiency and the evaporative state. So you can get the both features of an aqueous deficiency as well as the evaporative states. Goblet cell loss is associated with cicatrizing conjunctivitis, vitamin A deficiency, chemical burns, and toxicity from medication. So goblet cells loss is associated with these conditions, that is cicatrizing conjunctivitis, that is a scar forming conjunctivitis, then vitamin A deficiency, again there is cirrhosis or dryness, and chemical burns also produce dryness, and toxicity from medication. Certain medications will produce toxic symptoms like cicatrization and all. Now physical properties of the tear film. That in the table you can see the various physical properties of the tear film. Volume 4 to 13 microliters, rate of tear film secretion 1 to 2 micron per minute, then the turnover and refraction 1.357, pH 7 to 7.3, osmotic pressure 0.90 to 0.95% sodium chloride solution, and temperature 35 degrees centigrade at limbus and 30 degrees at the center, and tension is PO2 40 to 160 millimeter of mercury. So these are the physical properties, the secretion volume, pH, etc. In this table, you can see the comparison of chemical composition of human tears with the human plasma. So there are, we can see various electrolytes and water, how they are differ in the tear and the plasma. Water 98.7, here it is 94%, and then the solids total 1.8, then 6 gram percentage, and then the sodium 142, that is 137 to 142, like that various electrolytes, bicarbonates 26 and 24, and then the chloride 120 to 135 in the plasma 102, and potassium 15 to 29 milliequivalents per liter in tears, but it is only 5 milliequivalent per liter in plasma, and glucose 9 to 10 milligram per 100 ml, 80 to 90 milligram per 100 ml in plasma, total protein 0.6 to 2 grams per 100 ml, in the plasma 6 to 8 grams per 100 ml. Then amino acids 8 grams per 100 ml. Then finally urea, that is 0.04 milligram per 100 ml in the plasma, 20 to 40 milligram per 100 ml. So there are some difference in the composition of electrolytes and the water content in the tear compared to the plasma. Now, how the tear film formation is regulated. Regulation of tear film components. That is, first one is hormonal and second is neural. Hormonal androgens are the prime hormones that regulate the lipid productions. Estrogen and progesterone receptors in the conjunctiva and the lacrimal glands are essential for the normal function of this tissue. So, androgens are the prime hormones which regulates the lipid formation. Estrogen and progesterone receptors are present on the conjunctiva and the lacrimal glands, which are essential for the normal function of the tissue. Then neural fibers adjacent to the lacrimal glands and goblet cells results in aqueous and mucus secretions. So there are some nerve fibers near the lacrimal glands and the goblet cells which results in the aqueous and the mucus secretion. Now what is a dry eye? You might have heard and you might have seen what is a dry eye. Dry eye occurs when there is inadequate tear volume or function resulting in an unstable tear film and the ocular surface. So if there is inadequate tear volume, and not only inadequate tear volume, function of the tear volume, tear film, if it is not functioning proper also, it forms an unstable tear film and on the ocular surface and produces disease. There are various types of diseases. Keratoconjunctivitis sicca refers to any eye with some degree of dryness. Any eye with some degree of dryness is called keratoconjunctivitis sicca. Second one is xerophthalmia, describes a dry eye associated with vitamin A deficiency. So vitamin A deficiency, the first symptom is dryness of the eye. That is cirrhosis or xerophthalmia. Then cirrhosis refers to an extreme ocular dryness and keratinization that occurs in the eye with severe conjunctival cicatrizations. So the word cirrhosis refers to the extreme ocular dryness and keratinization that occurs when the eyes are severe conjunctival cicatrization. When there is injury to the conjunctiva and cicatrization occurs, then there may be dryness. Sjogren syndrome is an autoimmune inflammatory disease of which the dry eye is a typical feature. So in Sjogren syndrome, it is a type of autoimmune disease where there is dry eye. That is the typical feature of the Sjogren syndrome. Now classification of keratoconjunctivitis sicca. There are two types, aqueous layer deficiency and the evaporative. Aqueous layer deficiency is Sjogren syndrome and non-Sjogren type. Then evaporative, that is meibomian gland disease, exposure type, then defective blinking, contact lens associated, and environmental factors. So these are the causes for evaporative type of keratoconjunctivitis sicca. That is when there is meibomian gland is affected, or when there is overexposure to the eyeball, and if there is defective blinking, that is always open, no blinking, then contact lens associated. So those who are using contact lens sometimes may develop this type of evaporative keratoconjunctivitis, and then environmental factors are also there. Now, what are the tear substitutes? Tear substitutes have a relatively simple formulation that cannot approximate the complex number of components and the structure of the normal tear film. So, substitute is not the exact uh, substitution, but it may lack some of the components of the normal tear film. Almost all are based on the replacement of the aqueous phase of the tear film. So, aqueous layer components are replaced by these tear substitutes. So, almost all based on the replacement of a aqueous phase of the tear film. We have got three layers, lipid layer, aqueous layer, and the mucin layer. So all the components may not be there in the tear substitute, mainly the aqueous layer components. There are various types of tear substitutes, drops and gels. Cellulose derivatives are there. Then carbomeres are there, adherent to the ocular surface, and so are longer lasting. So carbomeres adhere to the ocular surface, and they are long lasting. If you are applying, it will remain there. Then polyvinyl alcohol increases the persistence of the tear film and is useful in mucin deficiency. So when there is any mucin deficiency, the polyvinyl alcohol type of drops are used, which will increase the persistence of tear film. So it will remain there for the long time. Then sodium hyaluronate may be useful in promoting conjunctival and corneal epithelial healing. So when there is an injury of conjunctiva or cornea, then sodium hyaluronate may be useful. That will promote the healing of the epithelial cells of the conjunctiva and the cornea. Then there is an autologous serum may be used in very severe cases. When there is very severe dryness and all, then autologous serum can be used. Then povidone and the sodium chloride, that also can be used. Now what are the tear gel? So ointments containing petrolatum mineral oil can be used at bedtime, as the daytime use is precluded by the market blurring. So usually the gels are prescribed to use at night, because while we are using at daytime, that will cause blurring of vision. So usually the doctors will prescribe at bedtime use. Preservatives are a potential source of toxicity, especially after punctal occlusion. So preservatives are potential source of toxicity, especially after the punctal occlusion. So that finishes about the tear film. You have studied all the three layers and the functions of all the three layers, and the composition in general, and what are the causes for dry eye, and the types of dry eye, and the tear substitutes. All these are discussed, and thank you.